everyone, and welcome to today's tutorial. Today we are going to be working with a collection from Doodlebug called Ghost Town. So this is like a Halloween themed collection, so we're going to be using 4 sheets of cardstock. From Stamping Up I chose orange, which is pumpkin pie, and then 2 green, which is called Granny Apple Green. I also added on these shape sprinkles, they're little spiders, and like different colored little dots, and then some of the die cuts that coordinate with this collection as well. So there are 12 double-sided pattern papers that come with the Ghost Town collection kit, along with a 12 by 12 sticker sheet. So today we are doing cutting guide A, which means that we need 4 background pages and 2 accent papers. So what I'm going to do this time is start off, I guess, by taking out all of the journaling cards. So I think there ended up being 3. So there's 1 journaling card paper here with a bunch of different sizes of rectangles, the striped papers, and the 2x2 squares. There was no 3x4 or 4x6 this time. So I took those out, and we still have a lot of different papers to work with. I really love all of the papers in this collection. I almost thought about doing like 2 4-page cutting guides with this same collection, but I do have another Halloween collection I do want to use next week. So here what I did is, for my first accent paper, I went ahead and picked that striped paper, and then my second accent paper, I need it to be double-sided, so that's why I went with this one here that says Happy Halloween, because it's white on one side and kind of that green color with the little monsters on the other side. And then, so now all that there's really left to do is pick our background pages. So I went ahead with this subtle black background that just has some shapes on it, this polka dot white paper, and then I really liked this owl paper. It was also a black based paper. And I went ahead and picked these spider webs with the spiders on them. I end up actually switching out that paper for that this purple paper right here. This kind of was, I was on the fence about this purple paper and that spider web paper, and I ended up changing my mind a little bit later on. So now what we're going to do is take all pieces of our cardstock, and we are going to be cutting 1 inch in from the side, 1 inch from the top, and 1 inch from the bottom, and cutting a straight line on all 4 sides. So what we are basically doing is cutting out a 10 by 10 inch square out of the center of this 12 by 12 cardstock. Our 1 inch border is going to be put into our piles, so there should be 4 or 6 piles, and then our 10 by 10 inch square that we just cut out is going to be put to the side, and we're going to be cutting them with another cutting diagram once we're done cutting out all these pieces of cardstock. So now we're going to be cutting the backgrounds for all of our pages. So when we're working with a single page layout, we want to cut both sides equally. So we're going to cut 0.5 inches off on one side, turn it 90 degrees and cut it 0.5 inches off on the next side. So basically we're creating an 11.5 inch by 11.5 inch square piece of paper. Here I just didn't feel like that white Happy Halloween accent paper, I feel like it didn't stand out enough on that polka dot background paper. So what I went ahead and did is just inked the edges of this accent paper just to give it a little bit of contrast on the page and let it stand out a little bit more. It's hard to see on camera, but in person it really did make a big difference. So I did do this technique for a couple of the accent papers throughout a couple of the pages today. So this spider web paper was originally my first choice for this background paper, and I just didn't like how it was coming together. And so I went ahead, and because I had such awesome other choices to use as background papers, I went ahead and picked this purple based page with a bunch of different images on it. I ended up cutting the background of it actually wrong, so you'll notice that the orange border along the outside of the page is it's a little bit thicker. That's because instead of cutting off 0.5 inches on two sides of that purple page, I actually cut off 0.75 inches off on the top and side. So it ended up leaving a bigger orange border around the edge, and I didn't mind it so much. I think it looks fine. Most people probably wouldn't even notice. It definitely wasn't intentional. It was definitely a screw up on my part, but I'm gonna go with it, and I think it works okay because you have such a large orange cardstock accent piece on the rest of the on the center of that page anyways, so it just kind of worked out. So there is quite a few embellishments that come with this die cut collection. It's called Chit Chat, so there's a lot of like thought bubbles and a lot of like titling, I guess, like some big titles that you could put on your pages, and I do like that. It saves you having to put create a title with your Cricut or with a die with a die cutting machine like a Big Shot or something, or it saves you from having to use like thickers or something. So you have like those nice big titles that can really fill up a space on the page, and it really is easy to sort of make them a focal point. And so this is what we have to work with. And on this page, there's that big blank sort of orange area behind that 4x6 photo area. Normally we don't have that big of an area because you could put 2 4x6 vertical photos on top of that orange cardstock, but I chose to only use a horizontal 4x6 photo this time, and I just filled up around that area with that big journaling card right along the right hand side of that 4x6 photo area. So here I decided that I wanted a big titling just because we have like a big area along the bottom of that 4x6 photo to fill. And so I went ahead and used this really colorful title that says Halloween, and I thought that it sort of coordinated well with this striped paper behind, just because it sort of incorporated all the different colors in the collection in sort of the same kind of a way. So I really like that this page sort of ended up, and this page can work for anything from pumpkin carving, for, you know, kid dressing up for a class party, or trick-or-treating, or anything. So for me, I just did Halloween fun, and I wanted mine to be a little bit more about trick-or-treating. So I went ahead and used accents that, you know, pertained more to trick-or-treating on this one, but you could definitely change that up as well. And I definitely tried to incorporate my foam squares so that it's really hard to see from a top view, but I really wanted there to feel like there was some flat parts and some raised parts on my page. So the Halloween title, and then the eyes, and then the accent that says all sorts of fun, and the accent that says candy with the arrow, those were all popped up with foam squares, and everything else was adhered directly to the page. So for our second layout here, I loved these banners, and I wanted to incorporate it on this page because we kind of had that big square in this on this layout, and so I wanted to anchor the banners using that square rather than like the edge of the page or a photo or something like that. So I kind of used those to define like the area that I wanted to embellish. And then I wanted another trick-or-treating page, which is kind of what my kids are really into, is the whole trick-or-treating with their friends and stuff. And then kind of go with smaller accents around these areas. So I basically just embellished around these photo areas and finished it off with some of the little spiders that came on the sprinkles. So one thing about Doodlebug, especially with their sticker sheet that comes in the collection kits, is that they have some really large stickers. So like this Happy Halloween, it really fills up a space, but it also makes a really bold statement. So I really liked that. And I kind of use that as like a focal point around the two pictures. And then I'm going to kind of embellish around it. And then I wanted something a little bit more simple at the top. So I just went with this titling that was a bit smaller that said Eek, and then flanked it with that Best Night Ever in purple with the eyes as well. And then I wanted to add this journaling card and kind of put some things around that Happy Halloween scallop circle. So I went ahead and put, I popped up this little saying that says my favorite costume, and then underneath I said Halloween party. And I cut up some of these little banner pieces depending on what words that I wanted to use. So this one I wanted to say Halloween night, and again finished it off with all these little spiders. I think Halloween pages are some of my favorite pages, because I really love when you can incorporate black onto your layouts. And sometimes you don't always get that, but it seems like with Halloween there's always like a strong black accent, and it makes it really fun to work with. And the colors are usually like purples and bold greens and oranges and things like that. So it's Halloween is one of my favorite color schemes to work with for sure. And for this final layout here, I did change the orientation. Normally this page has like a vertical 4x6 and a vertical 3x4 photo area rather than horizontal. So I just kind of like changed the layout around a little bit. And I wanted this one to be about pumpkin carving. So I went ahead and just used some generic accents that say Happy Halloween and October 31st. And then I did some titling to this as pumpkins and carving, but you definitely don't have to do that. It would also be a great area to put a journaling card underneath where it says pumpkins, but I didn't really want to have to journal anymore on this page once I put my pictures on, so I went ahead and just filled that area underneath with the titling that says carving on it. And this page is really busy beyond that, so I feel like it didn't need more than that anyways. So thank you so much for watching. Next week I'm gonna have another Halloween themed week, and then the second week in November I'm actually gonna be taking that off to go. Our kids have a really long weekend. It's almost a week off, so we're gonna go and try and find just some family fun to do. And so then I'm going to be going back to every 2 weeks, but I will be back next week to start my 2-week schedule after that. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. Have a safe and happy Halloween, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching.